All I know is I've never been so invested in a game.
What was your parlay? Bengals money line?
Huh?
You said you parlayed.
No,
You said I had a parlay.
I like parlaying the conversation. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you bet the game.
No, I didn't bet on the game.
That's a way too advanced word for me.
My bad. What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Today, I am joined by an NBA and NFL insider. We're hoping to get a story dropping right now.
Yeah, we'll see.
In this interview. Jordan Schultz, welcome to the Courtside Club.
Great to be here. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Can you actually, because I don't think we were rolling at the time, but you asked me before we even started, you're like, so I have to leave my ringer on my phone because there's a couple stories I'm waiting on. What's going on?
Okay, so I mean, this is like for the NFL. I've really kind of shifted my ethos to becoming an NFL insider, and the last year has been really good in that respect. So it's been great, and as I focused on it, I've gotten a lot more stories because I'm not having to call twice as many executives and agents and players. I'm just focusing on football, really.
Okay.
But some NBA, sprinkled in here and there. So with football, it's like training camp, and you don't think that guys are going to get signed, but there's still all these really good veterans. Jason Pierre-Paul, we saw Anthony Barr get signed. Yeah. Jason Peters is going to the Hall of Fame. We just had him on my show a couple days ago. He still wants to play. So there's all these guys that are still waiting to get that call and find that team. Yeah. So even though it's August now and free agency is long over in theory, my phone is still with me 24 hours a day. I keep it on at night because I'm not going to miss a story. And I actually have missed because like I was with my kids horseback riding a couple weeks ago, and a pretty prominent player, something happened. And I didn't have the story because at 8-9 minutes, no service. And that sucks. But for the most part, I'm going to have my phone with me all the time.
That's crazy. I wouldn't even know where to begin to become an insider. How does one get into this? How do you get those connections? How do you break the stories when you do?
Okay. You remember when you're getting recruited for basketball?
Yes.
And because I know about your game and you're a shooter like me, so we always automatically relate. Well, I was also an unathletic high school basketball player, big-time shooter. Big-time scorer. So, I got recruited by a fair amount of teams. When you start getting one, then, like, more come in. It's like, I heard that this coach is recruiting you at this school. You must be decent. You must be worth at least a call. So it's very much the same with NFL or, I guess, NBA becoming an insider. It's all word of mouth, trust. You do right by a player, by an agent, by a team. They know they can trust you. And it's also not transactional. If you are trying to get a story, well, you're not going to talk about that story for a year or 2 years with that player or that team or that coach, whatever it is, agent, because you want to make sure that it's a genuine friendship relationship first. And it's also two-way. That's the last thing I would say. It's like if you want information, you have to give information. So that's why you have to be on the phone so much, for better or worse. My wife hates me. So
the last story that you broke, what happened kind of leading up to that?
Well, it was Debo and DK, or the last two. I guess we could focus on DK because we have a really good relationship. And the key, too, is like I don't want to reach out to guys when they're already a star. Like I want to get to know you when you're in high school or in college, before everyone knows who you are, and before your phone's blown up with 8 other guys asking for stories. So for me, with DK, it was let's build a relationship while he's at Ole Miss and when he's drafted. And, he's in Seattle. I'm from Seattle. Let me set you up with some really good people. You need a real estate person. So there's like that actual human element to it and a friendship. And we really vibed. And sure enough, like, when it comes down to it, you never know if you're going to get that breaking story, but you always hope.
Was that?
That's not my text.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's something else.
Now I'm on the edge of my seat, ready for it.
The bottom line is you just really want to become an ally. And I always feel like because I played 4 years in college and unsuccessfully professionally, that I grew up immersed in basketball, and I relate to players. I think I relate to players really well because I saw the struggle and I know what it takes in theory to get to that point, even though I never did.
Yeah, no, I think that is something, and a lot of actually pro athletes have come out recently, and they don't love when there are commentators or people in the media who
didn't play,
talk about them, and they never played the sport. And so for me, it goes both ways, but you and I are the same. I obviously did not play at the highest level in going professionally, but I do understand what that struggle is like and those little elements that you might not understand if you weren't just there. You know what I mean? So you might be able to build that trust a little bit better with players. When I interview athletes, I feel like they trust me because I just I get it a little bit. You know, I'm not playing in the NBA. I'm not even close. But I get it. Like, I also had AAU tournaments, you know?
Yeah.
I
also 4 games a day.
Yeah.
3 people in a hotel room.
Right.
In North Carolina, wherever it is, that's where we used to go.
Right.
And my AAU team had 2 lottery picks on it. We had Martell Webster and Brandon Roy. They were in our program.
Yeah.
And Brandon was a year younger. Martell was 2 years. Or Brandon was a year older, but Martell was 2 below me. And so I saw how they went from, unknown 14-year-olds to 1,000 coaches, it felt like, at every game. Coach K, Lute Olson.
Yeah.
And it was all of a sudden their lives changed. It felt like overnight. And I remember feeling, how can you not be so overwhelmed by this? And in Brandon's case, he had this great career until he got hurt. But I just always sympathized for that.
So did you always want to get into media after your basketball career?
I did. I was obsessed.
Really? Okay.
Rachel, I wasn't exactly the greatest student, but I learned how to read from reading the New York Times sports section as a kid. That was
cool.
how
I
just devoured it. And I became a voracious consumer of all things sports, mostly basketball and football.
Okay.
So I always knew this is what I wanted to do. I mean, all the internships I did, everything was focused on getting into media once I was done.
Okay, and specifically sports.
100%.
Because I feel like that's maybe where we differ. We talked a little bit before we went on air how our playing style was very similar. Our basketball playing career, both loved to shoot. But I was somebody who actually played basketball and then went home and did everything that wasn't sports.
Like what?
I mean, I was just into watching movies and hanging out with my friends. I didn't start watching college basketball until I was getting recruited, and I didn't know if these teams were good or not. And I was like,
wait, so what, if a team reached out, you didn't even typically know?
I didn't know if they were good. Wow. And then it was the same thing after I quit basketball. I actually didn't watch basketball for 3.5 years. Didn't watch it, didn't play it, didn't nothing. It was a clean break, and I went into entertainment hosting. So where I'm at now is I like bringing the entertainment and the sports together. And that's kind of what I'm doing. Yeah. You went straight into stats, hardcore. Yeah, this is what I'm obsessed with.
I was just I viewed it as an extension of my basketball career.
Yeah.
It took the same thing I loved, which was sports and relationships, and just allowed me to do it at the next level.
So. Is there anybody who was in media who mentored you or you looked up to or you got to meet kind of early on that helped you?
When I was a kid, not when I was a kid, young, because I think when you're a kid, you look up to athletes, although, SportsCenter, I'm 36, so SportsCenter was my day and age. That's Rich Eisen, Stuart Scott. I didn't meet them necessarily, but I idolized them. So I guess that's fair. When I was 26, so 10 years ago, my agent at the time connected me with Adam Schefter.
Cool.
Who had just kind of started to pop.
Yeah.
And he spent an hour and a half with me over a coffee and just went through of here are the do's and don'ts. And that was really cool at the time. And I didn't know then that I wanted to be an insider or even in the NFL, but I knew I wanted to be in sports. Mm-hmm. And so that was helpful. And we've maintained a really good friendship. He's definitely helped me along the way in that regard. I'd say Adam probably the most. Yeah.
And now you've crossed over, you're doing stuff with the Boardroom, and then also you were doing the podcast with CJ for a while. So you've kind of tapped into this new media space as
players
well.
Are.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I fell into YouTube. That's how I'm in this space because I've just always been here. I was on YouTube, then I was in a video game. Now I'm just the digital world is my world, and I'm cool with it. I love it here. How did you link up with CJ and you guys start that? Because that's an amazing show. You guys won awards for it. CJ's one of the smartest athletes in the NBA. He's awesome.
Journalism major.
Yeah.
So
he's from Ohio too,
right?
Yeah,
he's from Kenton.
Yeah.
Kenton. Lehigh.
Yeah. I was getting recruited by Lehigh also. Yeah.
Okay, so Kenton's not a hotbed. I don't think for sports, is it? I mean, kind of.
It's close to Akron.
Yeah. Right.
So,
it's an Akron.
But it's just me, LeBron, and Steph Curry from Akron.
Yeah, of course. That's the trifecta.
Right.
So this is a perfect example of how relationships in this business come full circle. So I go way back with Earl Watson. He was like a 12-year NBA point guard, backup starter, completely total overachiever, like 6 feet, was great at UCLA. And we became really, really close over the years. And he was actually CJ's vet and then assistant coach in Portland.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so CJ's like rookie year, he was like, you got to meet this kid. He's like amazing. And he was like, I think he's going to be a really good player. It's too early. But at the very least, you guys are going to really hit it off. So we got connected and just really hit it off. Him being just like this journalism major who also was kind of a little bit of a nerd, you know.
I could see that.
And him also just being, he's a super genuine dude. We shared a lot of laughs over food. He's a big foodie like me, big wine guy. So we had a lot in common. And then him being in the Northwest, where I'm from, Seattle, just vibed really, really well. And we became really close over a short period of time.
So who decided on the idea for the podcast?
So the podcast, relationships again, the podcast came about, Pull Up Pod, shout out. My first job in radio was NBC Sports Radio. It was a Sunday morning radio show from, I think, 8 to noon that nobody listened to. I mean, nobody. But it was a great experience. It was 4 hours of reps. Every Sunday.
For sure.
And so my boss there, who was a great guy, we kept in touch and always kept in touch, even though I never knew if anything would come of it. But I liked him, and you want to stay on people's radars. So I would bother him every 2 months. Send him a text, "How you doing?" And then he reached out to me and says, "We just hired CJ to do this new pod on kind of like culture, life, basketball. I think he'd be a great fit. Do you want the job?"
Cool.
So that was like a great example of not only the relationship with CJ, but also keeping that relationship that at the time felt like there wasn't anything for me to quote gain from it, or even him, but we just stayed friends.
Right.
So
I mean, in this industry as well, I mean, you know it better than me, people move around so often too.
Yeah.
So I'll work with somebody at one company and I'll love working with them. One of us will leave, I'll leave, but then later on they're somewhere else. They're at YouTube, and then they want to hire me to work with them again at YouTube. If you keep those good relationships, then that's the biggest thing in media in general.
you started off in YouTube. How old were you when you really got it going?
I think 2K hired me when I was 24 or 25.
Wow.
I think. Or 23.
And did you have a say in how you were represented in the game?
I love how you just flipped the interview on me.
No, I'm just super curious.
We started out with that show. There were 3 people on episode 1. It was me and 2 shooters, and that also worked as editors.
Wow.
So we kind of built that thing from the ground. A lot of the interviews in the first few years I was booking, I was, again, reaching out to agents and like through relationships. And then one agent was like, "Oh, we love this interview you did with this player. I also have this player who would love to come on." And so
that's how it works.
Yeah, that's just kind of how it happened.
That's how it works. And also like the booking and the agent saying like, "Oh, you took care of my guy. You made him look good."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he liked it. He had a good time. He doesn't like doing that. You always hear that. He doesn't like doing media.
Right.
You're like, just come to my show. Give me 15, 20 minutes. I promise it'll be good.
Well, I think that's one thing too in the media. You can pick what route you want to take, because there are people in media who are ruthless and really don't give a damn and will say whatever they want and will have anybody across the seat from them and talk about stuff that maybe this person does not want to talk about. And that's fine, and that works for them, but you might never get that interview again, or you might never get probably, like somebody at that agency again, you know? For me, it's like, it's just not even my personality. And I feel like that's with you as well. It's not really my personality to just dig into some negative clickbait stuff, you know? I
think the short-term gain of that is so outweighed by the long-term gain of that relationship.
For sure.
And if here's the thing, if there's something really negative or a story, what I try to do is to give the person who you're going to write it about the opportunity to speak on it and give them a chance to comment. If it's a live interview, unless you both know what direction it's going, unless you're very clear before, you never want to blindside someone, especially if it's something really hard to talk about. Unless you have the relationship with that person and they know you're going there. Right. You don't do it.
I agree.
Yeah.
So now you're with the Boardroom as well.
Yeah.
And is that, I'm assuming, also came from your relationships with different people?
100%. That's all it is. This whole thing is related it's like a carousel. You put the quarter in, it goes around and around. I had gotten really close with Rich Kleiman, who's Kevin's like agent. He says, I'm not his agent. I'm like, he doesn't even want to be referred to that, but his agent, manager, confidant, best friend.
He does all the things.
Yeah. We got really close playing tennis together and hoops just in the summers. He helped move the conversation with ESPN, who ultimately hired me for 3 years. So Rich and I got really close, and as a result, got to have gotten a chance to get to know Kevin, who I love. I think he's a wonderful guy and pretty misunderstood person. But
yeah, I think in general, a lot of the media maybe doesn't have the best relationship with him because he is one athlete who isn't afraid to say something back.
Yeah.
If you say something about him,
he sees it.
Love it or hate it. Right.
Yeah.
Are you guys cooking up anything over there that we should be on the lookout for?
Well, there's a couple of things happening right now, as I'm sure you're. The whole league is in like this waiting period for him to make a decision here,
right,
and ultimately decide what he wants.
And I didn't even mean on the basketball side, but
okay,
but the boardroom side. Are you guys kind of on hold until we see?
I think everything's on hold until the
really,
the whole NBA's on hold,
right? But the NBA career comes first for the boardroom to continue to be successful.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of athletes have had tremendous success with off the court platforms. Mm-hmm. Like Steph, he has the Underrated Golf Tour. He has production company, obviously Spring Hill, 35 Ventures with Kevin. It's like athletes are taking their story and they're starting to control the narrative, which is a great thing.
Some fans weren't happy with Draymond kind of doing his podcast during the finals.
That was, why?
I don't know either. And it created a lot of buzz to even like we're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
But it's a testament to players taking the narrative into their own hands and doing things aside from basketball that maybe is just new to people.
Yeah.
Because in the past, everybody, if you look back to the Allen Iverson days and Tracy McGrady days, Shaq days, everybody was doing something other than basketball. Rapping and movies, whatever. But now you do a podcast and you talk after a game and now people are upset about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. In Draymond's case, he gets hired by the Volume with Cowherd, which is pretty cool when you think about like what that means. And he's trying to do what CJ is doing, which is setting yourself up for a career after while you're still playing and while you're still relevant.
Right.
It makes perfect sense to me. And why not capitalize and try to get subscribers during the finals? You're never going to have a hotter time.
Yeah. I actually have a fun game for you.
Love it.
So, facts or cap? Okay?
Uh-huh.
So, I have some sports myths and conspiracies.
Okay.
I want to see what you think.
Okay.
Start off easy. Professional athletes are overpaid. Facts or cap?
Do I just say why?
Yeah, go for it.
Cap because they're generating millions of dollars for the league, for the teams. You're worth what you can get, so cap.
What about baseball players?
I mean, I don't really. Can I swear? No, I don't really with baseball, but like, of course they're not overpaid. It's like they're still professional athletes.
True. Baseball, I guess, is the one sport that I was like, wow, these salaries are insane.
Wow. Yeah. I don't really.
I mean, good for anybody who's getting a check. Listen, I'm not trying to take checks from anybody. I'm just saying I don't fully understand it. Yeah.
I don't get how NFL contracts are not guaranteed. Out of all the sports, that's the one that needs to be guaranteed. But that's another story.
True. Okay. Speaking of NFL, the Madden cover athlete curse. Facts or cap?
I think it's a fact. It's happened too many times. I go back to Peyton Hillis was probably the worst. He never played football again when he was on the cover. Who else has been on the cover? It's more injuries. Guys have gotten hurt so many times.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So I'll say fact.
Yeah. Defense wins championships.
That's like the old Bill Parcells. Defense wins championships.
Yeah, it's like
no, that's cap because the Celtics had the best defense in like 40 years and they didn't win. Mm-hmm. And in football, when the Chiefs won it, they didn't have a top 5 defense. The Bucks, I guess they had a good defense. No, it's cap. There's too many great offenses. We haven't seen a truly dominant defense win a Super Bowl since Seattle, but then they had Russ. And before that, it was Baltimore. So in this day and age, cap. That's like saying you have to run the ball to win games. It's great to have a great running back, but you don't need it.
Did you watch the Super Bowl or were you at the Super Bowl?
I watched this one. I wasn't there.
What did you think about the last few minutes of the game?
Well, I picked Cincinnati.
I'm just parlaying because I was upset.
You were parlaying
to say the least.
During the game?
I'm just saying the defense wins championships because
the defense is shut down.
Somehow the Rams got the ball on the 1 yard line.
Are you inferring that the NFL's officials are not always motivated by honesty of the game, integrity of the game?
All I know is I've never been so invested in a game, and I've never paid attention as much as I did.
What was your parlay?
During
Bengals money line?
Huh?
You said you parlayed.
No,
you said I had a parlay.
I think parlaying the conversation. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you bet the game.
No, I didn't bet on the game. No, I did not.
You said I had a parlay. I thought you had Bengals in the over.
Parlaying from defense wins championships to the Super Bowl to where there was.
That's a way too advanced word for me.
My bad.
No, I just think betting once I hear parlay.
Okay, yeah. No, this was one game that I did not bet on.
Why didn't you bet? Everybody bet Super Bowl.
I don't know, because I think I was too invested emotionally. Otherwise, I was already upset, and I thought we had it. Yeah.
Being Ohio.
But
you did have it.
Anyway, that will just
But you know what?
me.
They got a great young team.
And great referees in LA. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. NFL is the worst for refs. We know that. NBA is second, but NFL's first.
Muhammad Ali's Phantom Punch.
The Sonny Liston fight? Mm-hmm. That Liston took a dive because he needed the money, I think it was.
That's kind of the conspiracy.
Like he owed money to the mob. No, I'm going to say cap because that disrespects Muhammad Ali, who's the greatest literally ever.
True.
So cap.
I think, yeah. I'm not too invested.
I mean, that was
in this
considered the biggest upset of all time.
People, I guess, were just like reviewing the punch, and it just didn't seem like it landed the way it needed to. And there's, there wasn't HD cameras in 1969 or whatever it was, so there's no way to like really look at it. We don't know, but you say cap.
I'm gonna say cap because it disrespects Muhammad Ali, and I love Muhammad Ali.
I'll take that. Oh, this is something that we talked about a little bit earlier, but former athletes and coaches are better commentators than someone who didn't play the sport at a high level.
It's not a prerequisite, but I think it helps.
Yeah.
So, overall fact, if I'm going to say one or the other.
So, do you know who's one person that like diminishes this argument for me is Ernie Johnson?
The best, yeah.
Like literally the best.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that is somebody that's always what I go back to. But he's also somebody who spends hours upon hours upon hours
he is
prepping.
A grinder.
Yeah.
He's a true grinder. Adam Lefko, you know Adam? Really good friend of mine. He does the Thursday nights, like TNT show inside the NBA. And he was like, Ernie Johnson's the hardest worker I've ever seen in my life. This guy never stops. And you've seen the video. So yeah, Ernie's a good example.
But have you read his book by chance?
I had not read his book.
Okay, great read.
Okay.
I'm doing Ernie Johnson promo right now. Also met the guy, kindest man on the planet, has a full family. It's just, what he's done is crazy, and every time he's prepared. And then at the same time, he has superstars next to him and just make sure that they stay in line. That's a skill in itself.
That is. No, 100%. He is the ultimate. He is the Steph Curry or Magic Johnson of announcers.
Yeah. Okay, last one. Someone poisoned Michael Jordan's pizza before the flu game.
I'm going to say 100% fact.
Facts, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about that until, say, the Last Dance.
Yeah.
And I have to believe it based on the fact that like 4 guys who were obviously Jazz fans delivered the pizza. It was 2 a.m. He's sick as he got. It wasn't the flu game. It was the food poisoning
now
game.
We know, but it was always known as that flu game. And I remember, I don't know if this was for you too, like growing up, if I was sick, now nobody does anything if they're sick because of COVID. But
they're like,
when you were growing up and you were sick, you would just like muscle through it.
Yeah,
and I would play any game or go to work or whatever, and I'd have a fever, but I would just, be out doing it.
Of course.
But my parents and coaches always reference back to like, remember Michael Jordan's flu game? He had 103 temperature and he played.
And he played the greatest game. Yeah. I think it's a total fact.
Yeah.
And it only adds to his mystique.
I want to go back to somebody that you mentioned, Magic Johnson. I know that you have a relationship with him.
How'd you know that?
I think I heard it in one of your interviews
that
you were talking about. By the way, Magic Johnson has coached me in a celebrity basketball game. Awesome dude. Like, so cool.
He's incredible.
Like, talk to my parents. So nice.
Yeah.
I like to take my parents to things because they never meet celebrities or basketball players. So for him to like take time out of his day and like, talk to my parents, it was so cool. So how'd you guys meet?
We met when I was a kid. I'm gonna go back to how we met, but I do want to tell a story.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty low profile when it comes to this stuff, but he was at my wedding. That we know him a long time, and he shows up to the wedding, and you can imagine that it's just all these people just
right.
leave the guy alone, and I tell my crazy aunt, please don't ask him for his picture or at least not his autograph. Even my friends who I was like, guys, you just make sure you give him some space. This is he doesn't want to be bothered by you idiots at this wedding. And
so they're all just looking.
Yeah, they're like, well, what if we just offer him a shot and then we could hang out with him? And I was like, he'll drink if he wants to drink. You don't need to get him a shot at the free bar, So
your family's getting Magic Johnson wasted.
Yeah, I'm just leave the guy alone, So sure enough, we get there, and after ceremony, I see just it's just like a herd, going toward him. And he's 6'9". You can't miss him.
Yeah.
He's 6'9". So I see there's this herd of people, and I'm tell my wife, I was like, this is so bad. This poor guy is just. I was like, what do we do? She was like, you just gotta let it be. This is our wedding. He'll be fine. He's used to it. So I go over to him and I'm like, how you doing? He's like, gives a lot of love, daps me up. He's like, oh man, this is great. I was like, I just want to apologize. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, I seen that there's probably 100 people that have come up to you in the last hour.
Yeah.
He was like, oh man, no, I encouraged it. I love it. I want to. These people that never met them before. Yeah. They're excited. I want them to have a great experience meeting me. No problem. So I want to say that because he's such a people person. He genuinely loves people.
Yeah.
And we used to work out all the time together and play hoops, and I love that he coached you because I know what he's like as a coach. Mm-hmm. Very inspirational. You got this. Come on, babe. And people would come up to him all the time.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh man, here we go again. He was so nice. I never once seen him say no to an autograph, a picture, conversation. It's always that.
Yeah.
So to go take it all the way back, I've known him since I was a kid, and he's special.
How does one meet Magic Johnson as a kid?
Well, that's a good question. I also have a good Shaq story. I don't know if we have time.
Shaq?
Yeah.
Oh, we love Shaq on the Courtside Club.
Okay.
He'll be here. He has a Courtside Club hat. We just need to get him on.
You got to get him on.
But he's a busy man.
He's a busy man and a big man. You're going to need about...
Right?
Yeah.
No, I'm sure he'll come on.
So, I mean, this is your show, so you're asking me. This is not something that I talk about a lot, but for those who don't know, my dad is CEO, founder of Starbucks. He actually just went back to the company in March, CEO for the third time. He's 69.
Congrats.
Yeah, it's not a congrats. I mean, it's just retire.
Yeah.
So I grew up immersed, obviously Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And Magic was the first and only person that ever owned a Starbucks, multiple. So when I was maybe 10, 11 years old, my dad went to Magic and said, we'd love for you to be our partner and build a series of Starbucks in low-income areas in South Central Los Angeles, Watts, cool. Inglewood. So yeah. I think he did 8, 10, 12, something like that. And they're, to this day, some of the most successful Starbucks, because basically no companies would go into these neighborhoods, no retail stores. And when Starbucks went in, it set the table, and all of them went, especially because Magic endorsed it.
Right.
And they've been enormously successful. And so I got to know Magic as a kid very organically. He'd come over to the house. Obviously, he was done playing, so he was over a lot, and he'd stay with us. And so for me, it was a very personal relationship, and that's why I was so protective. All these people bothering the guy, but he obviously didn't mind.
Yeah.
And actually, that's a Shaq story too. Did you ever hear that one?
No, you didn't. We started there, then we backtracked.
This is your pod. I'm taking over here.
Yeah, go for it. So, at least I'm not being interviewed.
Well, I can flip it.
No, please don't.
So Shaq, before Magic or simultaneously, my pop went to Shaq and asked him the exact same question. And he was prime Shaq. Because this is 2000. This is amidst their three-peat.
Yeah.
And he's in L.A. and he wanted to do the same thing in South Central L.A. And Shaq was like, black people don't drink coffee. Because where he was from, he had never seen it. Yeah. And that's literally what he told my dad. He was like, I never seen anybody of color drink coffee. The answer is no. And so every time he sees me now, he's like, I hate myself. I could have been one of the greats, Magic, Shaq, Howard. He's always
because he's such a businessman. Shaq
he didn't buy into it, and so he couldn't support it.
Right.
He is a businessman.
Right.
But he
so
didn't
I'm saying
believe
now
in his
he's kicking himself because he's
oh, it would have been substantial.
It would have been massive.
Substantial.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm drinking a Starbucks around him, he's just like. what got away? What could have been?
Right.
You know. So.
Have you worked with Magic or Shaq kind of in your media landscape?
A little with Shaq, but I'm so respectful of like those relationships. So very little. I think I did one small thing with Shaq, like when he was promoting a video game a couple years, like 5-6 years ago. So other than that, not really. I will say that when I was a kid, whenever the Lakers were in town, Shaq would come over for dinner the night before. Mm-hmm. And he would literally come and sit on my bed and be like, we'd like hang out because he's a big kid.
Yeah.
And he would take up the whole bed and he would eat so much food. He would eat a massive cake, like a whole cake.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, look what I can do. So I just love Shaq. He was like a big brother, but also like older and way bigger. He was just the coolest guy. And he's just like that today.
I feel like it's crazy for you because you see people who grew up, obviously your family's very fortunate, very smart, but you also, I heard in another interview, just talk about the work ethic that you all have. And for someone like you, I feel like that could go one of two ways. You're doing a ton for yourself. You said you even went so far as wanting to change your name.
The Hebrew name.
Because you want to have your own path. You know what I mean? But there are some kids who probably just been like, I am chilling, man. Or I'm going to, go work at Starbucks also, or just help my dad or whatever.
Yeah.
So what kind of fueled you, I guess, to take your own path and create this lane?
I listened to your interview with Drew Hanlon, and he talked a lot about.
Oh, I inspired you.
It's a little later, but I listened to it, and I loved what you both said about how, like, you would grade the great ones. In his case, like he talks about Embiid, like just find a way throughout the day to be working on their game, even when they're not like in the gym.
Yeah.
There's just always a way to get better. So for me as a kid, I originally parlayed it into basketball. It was all basketball.
Yeah.
Some baseball. I was a good athlete, not a great athlete. I was a really hard worker, and I had a very good high school career as a result. But I always knew that Starbucks wasn't even it wasn't even an option. It was like if there was a window, it was just closed. I never even considered it because for me, it was never going to be. I was never going to have made it on my own. I was always going to be Howard's son. Mm-hmm. And not that I'm not Howard's son, but in that company with that shadow, it would have probably been catastrophic for me. I just couldn't deal with it. It got really bad at away games, like the Frappuccino chants and the Starbucks sucks and Starbucks is.
So so when you would get the ball, people would chant
more the free throw line.
Okay.
Yeah. Or when I get the ball, they'd be like Starbucks. It was awful.
Really?
I actually liked it because
I got knee pads because I was the only girl on my team who wore knee pads.
In basketball?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that.
Wearing knee pads in basketball?
It's not soccer or volleyball. Come on, Rachel.
Yeah, but I never got injured, and I was scrappy, and I was going after loose balls when other girls weren't. So
you were always on the ground, and you felt like this is protect me.
I just always wore them. I wasn't falling on the ground.
They called you knee pads.
They would chant. I mean, you have to pick something, right?
If you're
even
good, decent,
yeah. So I always got knee pads. You got Starbucks. I don't know. I might take Starbucks. It's kind of cooler than knee pads.
It wasn't cool. It was like, but I reveled in it. I've gone back and watched tapes and I was so immature. I would egg them on and
If you hit a few threes, they're done.
Yeah, exactly. And usually that happened. Although you'd have your off games and they just you. But no, my parents were super supportive when I was 16, maybe sophomore year of high school. We sat down and they were like, "Do you have any idea what you want to do?" And I was like, "I know I want to do sports media in some capacity." Cool. So they were really supportive, and that made a massive difference.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's cool that you had that backing too, and you were able to find your own drive because, like I said, some people will just chill. But
I think also growing up in that space, it wasn't uncommon to have famous people at the house. It was a lot. That would happen a lot, or at dinners. It was always just I was around it so much. I think that's really helped me with athletes because I just feel so comfortable around them, and I see what their plight is. I know how hard it is.
But you also just see the human element to the athletes also. Has there been anybody that you've been starstruck around?
That's a good one. Let me think about that because I'm sure. Probably not an athlete necessarily, maybe more an actor or a singer or something.
Yeah.
It was just so many times when I was a kid where I was U2, Bono would come over, and then Shaq, and I was so immersed in it.
Yeah.
So it's super seldom. But I'm sure it's happened. I will find one.
So there's been one for me, and it was Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
Because that was my favorite player growing up. And that's somebody who's also like not really on social media.
Yeah.
He's not in the scene very much or doing events here. And he's not that many places. You know what I mean? He's not as accessible as some of these other guys are. So I remember when I saw him, I met him briefly. And I was just like, you were my favorite player growing up. Thank you for all that you did for the game of basketball. And he was like, oh, thank you. And like shook my hand. But I was probably just like, wide-eyed.
You're also like, wow, you're only like 5'11".
I was like, thank you so much. And bye.
He's an icon. One of my favorite players ever. Yeah.
I know that you said you're focusing on the NFL right now, but what NBA storylines have you been following?
I think the young talent is incredible. Jaden Ivey, Anthony Edwards, Morant, Cade Cunningham, it's endless. But the French kid who I recommend, you just go on YouTube.
Okay.
His name is Victor Wembanyama. He's like 7'2", 7'3". He's 18. He looks like a combination of Giannis and like Morant. He handles it. He's a perimeter player. He handles it. He's like what we thought Porzingis was. Okay. He's super athletic. This guy, Victor Wembanyama, is just utterly ridiculous. And he's like surefire number one pick. Everyone's obsessed with him. It just seems like every couple of years we get one of these.
So where is he now?
He's in the French league.
Okay.
Yeah. He's ridiculous.
So next year.
He's like 7'3", probably 190 pounds, maybe. Did you see Hustle?
No, not yet.
What?
I know I need to watch it.
Because I know Rob Weiss said he loved it on your show, and I was like, Rachel saw it.
Yeah, I do need to watch it, but I'm one of those people who has like 4 shows going at a time, and I have to finish them to get
that's fair.
to that.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it almost feels a little bit like that, where these guys come out of nowhere, a European, and he's like a unicorn.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that.
Any bold predictions on teams? Any teams you think are going to surprise us? Are the Lakers going to do what they say? I
said before last season the Lakers will not make the playoffs. I got obliterated for it. Yeah. They will not make the playoffs, or they'll be a low seed. The team is just not. I like the Darvin Ham hire, but they're so hamstrung. Yeah. So no, I really think this narrative that like Phoenix's window is closed is ludicrous.
Okay.
And then they're bringing back Cam Johnson, obviously Ayton. They matched on. Booker, CP. The team, they won 64 games. They were in the finals 2 years ago, a game and a half away from winning it. I don't know how. I guess they lost to Dallas, but like this script has been flipped that they're not a good team anymore, or that they can't contend. It's wild.
But do you think it's more so? It's not even their abilities, but it's just their like inability to close.
I think people.
Do you know what I mean? Like the mindset around that team.
Phoenix was really cool 2 years ago. They beat the Lakers. People were like, "Oh, Booker's a star.
Yeah.
Chris Paul's back." Then they flame out against Dallas, and everyone's disappointed, and they're no longer a cool story. It's like why everyone loves Memphis now or Minnesota, these up and coming teams. But Phoenix is still built with a great coach, Monty Williams, to win a championship, and I have no doubt they'll get there.
Yeah, I called the Warriors, and people thought I was crazy too.
Okay, so you called it before before he came back.
When he was coming back,
okay.
Yeah. Before play, I said that they were going to win it all, and everybody thought I was crazy.
Yeah, let me rewind the clock a little bit for you.
Okay.
About a month left in the regular season, I go to San Francisco, and they play the Suns. Mm-hmm. They lose. Steph was not playing then. He was still hurt. They lose to the Suns, and it felt like the entire city was like, we're finished.
Yeah.
This team stinks. Clay had like a terrible game. And I spoke with Steph after the game and spent a little time with him, and you almost could feel the wheels turning, like, I'm coming back. Clay's just coming back. Draymond's going to be fine. Like, everyone can keep doubting us, but there's no question, like, we're going to surprise people.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, just don't know if I can get there. I love this team, but the injuries, and sure enough. And that's why he's Steph Curry. He is, to me, let me ask you, as much as I love Magic, I put Steph ahead of Magic. I do. Where are you at on that?
I say I didn't watch Magic enough to make that evaluation.
So Curry.
Yeah.
Magic 2, just because you're like, he's so good.
I just didn't. I don't watch enough of his games, but I've been to so many Warriors games. Like, I've seen Steph in person, and what he's doing for the NBA now is insane. Like, he's changed the entire game.
He's changed the game.
There's 11-year-olds like shooting from
We were ahead
the
of our time,
volleyball
Rachel.
line.
As
Right?
shooters.
Dang it! I would have.
How many coaches told you,
excelled
like,
in today's game?
Yeah, how many coaches would tell you, Rachel, like, get to the hoop, get to the free throw
You know how
line.
many times I got in trouble because I would step over half court, take two steps, and shoot it. But that was actually a play of ours. Off the tip was tip it to
just
me.
pull from, like, 30?
A couple dribbles to a shot.
Because nobody's guarding it at that point.
Right. No one's guarding you. So, but like you would have a wide open layup. Don't take it. Like take the three. They wanted to start off on that. That was our play.
I like that.
So,
my coach didn't give me that freedom, but I think I shot, not
if
10
I
threes a game.
wasn't shooting, I was on the bench. Like if I was passing up shots, they're like, we have you in for one reason.
What did you average? Your
Shoot
senior
the
year
ball.
Of high school?
Of high school, like 15.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. And do you know like what percentage you shot from three, roughly?
I don't actually. I could look it up. I don't
What's
know.
your career high?
43.
You got to be kidding me. I'm 42, and I could pull up the article.
Oh, really?
42.
That's dope. Yeah.
How many threes? 11.
Not in that. No, I had like 6 that game. Oh, you
you're-
mean threes ever in a game?
No. Yeah, ever in a game.
7. It's only 7.
That's a lot. And can I ask you your all-time Mount Rushmore of basketball?
So that's 4.
It's 4. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard not to do 5. I mean,
All right, give me your 5. I just want to know. I just like knowing.
because I always throw Iverson in there because that was my favorite player.
Okay.
So it's Iverson, Kobe, Jordan, LeBron, and Shaq.
Okay.
It's very new school.
Jordan, Kobe, Kareem, LeBron, and I think the 5th is I always say Larry Bird, and he's probably not there, but I just love Larry Bird highlights.
So that's like your Larry Bird is my Iverson.
Yeah.
See, I loved Iverson, and he was a completely different player than I was.
Yeah, it's like
It didn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, low percentage.
But I also
shooter.
watched JJ Redick when he was at Duke, and like
Unbelievable.
I was, looking up to him.
Are we gonna do like the video thing, like the start bench cut thing, the movies? I don't get that.
No, that was just specific for
Oh,
Rob
that was for
Weiss.
him. He didn't even see the movies.
Yours was the facts or cap. Oh,
Okay,
you're
fine,
so
fine.
ready.
Okay, I just want to.
Okay, best basketball movie of all time.
I just want to go on
Go
the
for
record that Remember the Titans for me is the best football movie.
Okay.
And the basketball movie is as much as I love He Got Game, I'm still going with
Love and Basketball.
Love and Basketball.
I'll take it.
And you have Coach Carter.
I have Coach Carter still. But I need to watch Hustle too.
Hustle's definitely legit. Very good.
I do, though, have some buzzer beaters for you.
I love buzzer beaters.
Cool.
I wasn't good at them, but I like answering them.
Ideal food and drink combo while sitting courtside.
Probably like a really good cold beer and
Okay.
like fish and chips. I don't eat meat, so fish.
Okay. Do they sell that at basketball
No,
games?
but
Okay, no, I'm just
yeah,
wondering.
yeah, yeah.
I'm vegan, so
See,
I haven't eaten meat in
I don't eat
ages.
meat. I haven't eaten since I was a kid. So, you're vegan? Excellent.
Yeah, I haven't eaten meat since I was 18.
Great.
But we do drink Starbucks.
It's great. Yeah, I'll get you a gift card.
Soy milk
Yeah.
lattes.
It'll get you like 2 drinks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's the best game that you've ever been courtside for?
96 finals. I think it was
Oh, wow.
game 4, Seattle beat Chicago. So that would have been that. Yeah. Or the 96 Western Conference Finals when Seattle beat the Jazz. Either way, I mean, that whole season, that was Gary Payton, Sean Kemp in their prime.
That's crazy.
That was great. Yeah. Oh, also, one more.
Okay.
I think it was the 2009 finals. It was Lakers, Celtics, and
Oh, that's a
it was
good
the
one,
game when
too.
the Lakers were down like 24, and they came all the way back and won. It was like game 2 or something.
Oh, that's dope.
I was on the floor. That might be all time.
That-
It
I was gonna say that
peak
might be the
Kobe.
best one. Yeah.
Peak Kobe.
Okay, so who's one person dead or alive that you would love to sit courtside with?
I heard you ask Rob that. I guess I would keep it in the sports realm, and I'd really want to know like what Dr. James Naismith would think about
Okay.
like today's game. He'd be like, "What the is this?
Right.
You know, what is this thing that I created? Where's the peach hoop?
It's like, where's my royalty fees?
Yeah, where's my royalty fee? Yeah,
What
yeah,
the hell?
yeah. What is this game?
Yeah.
So
And last but not least, what is one event in history, sports or otherwise, that you'd love to be courtside for?
what did the guys Rob say? Assassination of JFK. I was like, what the hell's
he
wrong
actually,
with this guy?
That was my first guest who got angry about that question. He got angry. He said, what do you mean
No.
history?
No, it's a great
He's
question.
like, there's so many bad things in history. I don't want to
There's
be
so many good
courtside.
things.
Right? I know, but I guess that's
Okay.
where his mind went.
Speaking of JFK, it would be unbelievable to know how he actually, like, what actually happened.
What
My
transpired.
dad
yeah.
is a speaking of my dad, just ridiculously interested in this topic. So I've been hearing millions of theories since I was a kid on how he actually died.
He's like down the conspiracy rabbit
big time.
hole,
But if I think it would be unbelievably cool to see. I guess it's not in one event, but it's basic. When Lincoln freed the slaves. I don't know if I rewatched the movie recently and I've read a couple books. What this man went through and the backlash he got, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And when he freed the slaves, it completely changed the landscape of the country.
For sure.
And I would just love to just understand like how he did it. How did you do this? And what was the biggest struggle to get there?
Yeah. I feel like I'm having a history lesson today because this is not the first time Lincoln has been brought up.
Really?
In the podcast.
I was like, damn it! I hope I didn't.
No. It's not in this. Another one of my guests has. Actually, you might know him, Buster.
Buster.
The Buster show. Share.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. He was familiar with you, but
Oh, okay.
He has like collectibles, and he has something from Abraham Lincoln.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
A signature and a stamp. So
that is unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm not like the biggest history buff, but I agree.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about, you asked me earlier, you asked about relationships and how you break these stories. So when I broke the Gronkowski news of him retiring, there's a little bit of a good backstory there. I don't know if you want me to tell it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell it really quick.
Okay.
Met him a couple years ago, became friendly, and he loves animals. And so we connected on that because I love animals. My wife, that's what she does. And so he goes to like Petco and buys everybody animal supplies, and he's like an animal.
Oh, I love that.
He's totally obsessed, and he loves his dogs. And so we started connecting on that. And I said to him 6 months ago, is it possible when you do announce your decision to give me a heads up so I could help you break the news? And he was like, oh, of course. And I didn't want to push back in terms of like the next 6 months. Like, is there a decision coming? I just let it be. He calls me up 20 minutes before and he says, I'm retiring and I want you to announce it. And I was like, wait, first of all, I definitely thought he was coming back. And I was like, are you sure? And yeah, I'm sure. And he says, you can announce it. And he said, but you need to wait 15 minutes. And I said, okay, it's probably going to get leaked before. And he was like, I don't care. Just put it out. He was like, I want you to get the story. That's how much it, and for him to be thinking about that during his moment about me, above and beyond. Truly, guys, one of a kind.
So, wait, but why did you think it was going to get leaked?
Because a lot of times, especially when it's a story of that magnitude, of that player, it's just, the chances of somebody getting a hold of it, the team telling someone else, the agent, not through Rob, but he's got to tell the team, hey, I'm not coming back.
Right.
The chances of it getting leaked.
And anybody's going to take that information
100%,
immediately.
Yeah.
That's cool about Gronk, though. I love
Gronk
that.
is the coolest.
Yeah.
You got to get him on the show. He is the coolest guy.
Let him know to come on.
I will. I'll be with him in a week, so I definitely will.
Bring Camille, too. She's awesome.
Camille is cool. Rob is the coolest guy ever. You're going to be like, wow, what a great guy. Like, how did you ever play football? You're too nice.
We could talk about animals the whole time.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll easily pivot.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of animals. You ever want to come visit? We have a farm. We have over 100 animals.
Cool.
A rescue.
Really? All?
All of them. Every single one.
What kind of animals?
Any farm animal you can think of, we have. Sheep, goat, horse, mini horse, donkey, duck, cat, bird, pigs. We got 4 pigs. Everything.
Cool. Have you been to the sanctuary in Utah? The Best Friends Sanctuary?
No, but we are affiliated with it, and they are one of the best. Amazing.
So I volunteered.
I saw you post something about this, I think.
So I volunteered with them when I was living in LA. I volunteered with Best Friends. That's where I have gotten my cats from. I'm a crazy cat lady. Just have this weird connection to them. Yeah. So, and then I took a volunteer trip to Utah, and I volunteered with the special needs cats at the sanctuary in Utah.
Wow.
So they have all these different houses, and there's this one house that's like special needs cats. So they're all like 2 legs, 3 legs, blind, deaf, cancer, all like literally all the things you can think of. But it was, you know, I cleaned litter boxes and played with them and fed them and gave them love. And a lot of them come from like hoarding situations, but it was like the best trip. So I would love to see what your family has as well.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. All right, we'll definitely connect on that because I'm an animal freak.
Cool. So. Before I actually let you go, where can people find you? What should we be looking out for?
Well, I just got on TikTok. You have a great TikTok.
Cool, yeah. You've been doing NBA
commentaries, just to get some consistency.
Gotta start somewhere.
So I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, it's it's all the same. I mean, I have different profiles, but you can just probably find me on there.
Cool.
So I would love to understand your TikTok world and like how you do. I'm actually taping some stuff from today. I'm like going to do like a day in the life thing. I'll take like a video of this.
Perfect.
Maybe you can like say hi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Just tag me. Cool. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye. What's up, guys? It's Rachel DeMita. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Courtside Club. Make sure that you like, rate, and subscribe to ESPN's YouTube channel and wherever you listen to your podcast. We have new episodes coming to you guys every single week, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you soon.